Happy New Week, everybody. Good Monday morning. Shout yourselves out. Tell me your locations in the comments, and we will get started in a moment. Make sure we all set up here. Looks like every streaming platform is working properly today, at least for now. Let me not speak too soon, but we'll speak for the moment. It looks like everything is working the way that it's supposed to be working this morning. We are live on Rumble Studio. Good morning to everybody checking in on Rumble. Looks like we are live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. I will check on X in 1 second. We are live on Facebook. Good morning. We are live on LinkedIn. Good morning. We are live on Instagram. KingWorks21. Good morning to you over there checking in from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Shout out to the college towns out there. We are live on TikTok. Good morning, everybody on TikTok. Please like the live as y'all coming in on TikTok. I don't even see 1,000 likes in there yet. By the time I even look at that on TikTok, we should already be at 1,000 likes. So any of you watching on TikTok, as soon as you come in, just like the live. And like the live more than one time. Just tap the screen a whole bunch of times when you first come in. Let me check over on X, make sure we are active. We are live. It says we are live on X. And where's the actual post? There it is. So we are live on X. Good morning, X. We are live over there. Today we're going to talk about Elon Musk. And it's not really about Elon Musk. It really is about a bigger picture concept. Elon Musk just happens to be the poster child for this bigger picture concept of people believing that there is some type of social responsibility that a person has due to their relative reported success. That's really what the topic is here today. We just happen to be we're going to use Elon Musk, but it's not really about Elon. Let's see. Are we good over there? Let me see what we got in the comments. Please keep liking the live over there on TikTok. Our aim is 100K every day. Dot 420. Dot 420. Good morning to you. First comment. Congrats to you. Traditional all day. Good morning. Good to see you here. Carla, Indiana. Good to see you. Good morning. Let's see. Yes, like the live as you come in. Everybody like the live. Bill Greenidge. Good morning. And I appreciate that. Thank you, Bill Greenidge. As y'all coming in, like the live, like the live. So let's talk about Elon and why Elon is the frame that we're using for today's topic. Again, it's not really about Elon. We're just going to use him because everybody knows who he is. Everybody knows his name, and everyone knows that Elon is allegedly, at least of the people who we know about, is the richest man in the world right now. That's what he is billed as, the richest man in the world. His net worth recently passed. It may have gone down since then, but it recently passed $400 billion. It was about maybe a week ago. I heard that Elon's net worth passed $400 billion. This is based on valuations, by the way. It's not that Elon Musk actually has $400 billion in cash in his bank account. So don't go kidnap one of his kids and then say the ransom is $400 billion. He doesn't have it in cash. But if you add up the valuations and the values of all the things that he allegedly owns, that whoever the people are who do this for a living, that they can add up, that they claim that they can quote unquote verify, that's his actual worth. So whenever you hear these net worth numbers, the people who give you these numbers don't actually know how much money somebody has. They don't even know everything another person owns and their assets and all of that. Because people who have the amount of money that their net worth is being reported are not out there telling everybody every single thing that they have. So this whole net worth conversation has always been a farce as a general rule, simply because you never actually know what everybody owns, and the valuations are paper money. They're not real money. But anyway, they say Elon Musk is worth $400 billion. So let's just go with that. And people are lining up with their talking points. Hey, Elon Musk could end world hunger. He could fix homelessness. He could still live the same life without any negative impact on his life. If he could took all that money that he is allegedly worth and he just solved everybody else's problems. And these arguments are never actually about solutions. They sound like they're about solutions. These are actually moral high ground plays that people are playing here. That is basically a moral high ground fallacy. Like, hey, I'm a better person than Elon because if I had all Elon's money, then I would do this, this, and this. And they're saying that without saying it by saying, well, hey, Elon could do this and all these great things with the money that he has. And I've never been a fan of this frame of talking about one human talking about what another human could or should do with their resources when the person who is doing the talking either is not doing that thing and or their excuse is, I don't have the resources that this person has. So, of course, I'm not doing the same thing that this person does. My response to that, if they have the second point as the excuse, is shut the fuck up. Why are you talking? What you should be doing, instead of talking about what someone else should do with the resources that they have, is you should be out doing whatever is necessary to acquire the same resources, so that then you can take your beautiful plan of what somebody else is supposed to do, then you can do it. And you can actually be the change that you wish to see. As who was it? Wasn't it Michael Jackson had a song that said, "I'm starting with the man in the mirror." All right, everybody needs to start with the man in the mirror. That's going to be the topic here today. These arguments are never really about solutions. The people who are saying these things, Elon can end homelessness if he just took some of his money and it wouldn't affect his life in any negative way. The people who make these kind of comments, do they really care about ending homelessness? Probably not. Probably not. All right, this is about emotional guilt, or what they are claiming emotional guilt, because I don't think Elon is noticing most of these comments. And it's a disguised activism. And again, as I said, is a moral high ground fallacy. When you say what somebody else should do and you frame it as if they're a bad person because they're not doing it, while at the same time you are not doing it. And this is somehow looked at as you're making a logical point when you're actually not. So the people saying this usually don't understand economics. They usually don't understand simple things like net worth is not actual cash. So Elon Musk being worth allegedly $400 billion does not mean he can end homelessness, because to end homelessness, you need to actually build houses, and the people who build the houses have to actually get paid actual money. $400 billion, not the actual amount of money that he has. So people don't understand basic economics. They somehow, some way have figured that Elon is a bad guy because he has a whole bunch of money. He's won so big. I think a lot of people, especially in Western society, consider having a certain amount of money to be a win. It's a success. It's a victory. So he's won in a certain way while making all this money. And people talk as if, because you know how much he has, allegedly, that you somehow have some high ground to stand on in which you can say what he's supposed to do with what he has. And I say to anybody who has that frame of mind, is it okay then if somebody else tells you what you should do with what you have? All right, even if it's a lot less than Elon. Let's say Elon has $400 billion. Let's just say that he did, and you make $75,000 a year. Is it okay for someone else to say what you should do with your $75,000? Just because if you could say what Elon should do with his, then it's only right that somebody should be able to say what you should do with yours. Do y'all agree with that? Give me a yes or a no in the comments. Is it okay that if a person wants to say, here's what Elon should do because he has X amount of dollars, allegedly, is it okay for someone else to say the same thing to that person? Hey, here's what you should do with your money. I mean, being that you talking about what Elon should do with his, I mean, Elon's an adult. He's a human being. He's not an organization. He's a person. As a person, he has that. Okay, so can somebody else say what you should do with yours? Is this okay? I say it's okay. I say yes, it's okay. And the thing is, a lot of people who make these comments about Elon, they don't want anybody offering to comment about their money. So why is it okay for you to make a comment about his? Just because you know about him? Because he's famous? Because he's made a lot? And so we're going to get into this here today. Elon, somehow, some way, when it comes to making money, I think we can all agree he's played the game better than 99.9% of people, because there's a scoreboard. Scoreboard is what you got. And the scoreboard is Elon has allegedly $400 billion. So this false frame that this is really based on is not about Elon and his number. Let's say it was 100 billion, 1 billion, 400 billion, a trillion. Some are saying that Elon might be the first trillionaire that we know about in history. And there's a bunch of people who probably have maybe similar or more amounts than Elon has. They just don't want you to know about it, so we don't know their names. But that's neither here nor there, at least for now. What this really is about a false frame that people believe that if you are rich, whatever y'all consider to be rich, and a lot of people have a lot of different definitions of rich, and most people don't really understand the real definition of rich, which we might get to later on here today. Is people think that the rich are greedy and that the poor are virtuous. So if you don't have a whole lot of money, then your cope for not having as much money as an Elon Musk or a Bill Gates or who's another person, Jeff Bezos, or whatever rich person you want to demonize. If you don't have as much money as that person, that it usually means because you're a good person, you're a better person than them. You have a higher moral standing than this person. So that's why it's okay that they have played the money game better than you, even though almost all of us go to work every day, literally, to make money. Anyway, this is what's really happening here, is that the people who are saying these things about Elon and others, do they really want the power that someone like Elon has? Do you want the money and the stress and the demands and the attention that come with that level of accomplishment? Because if it was you, people would be saying the same thing about you that you are saying about Elon. What they want is somebody to blame. And this is really where we get into, ladies and gentlemen, the separation between the people who achieve in life and the people who are average in life. And the masses of people are average. And you have a handful of people who are achievers. It's about an 80-20. This is a reflection of the 80-20 principle. 80% of people are average. 20% of people are high achievers. Most of the people who are in that 80%, the lower achieving individuals, what they really want to do is not join the 20%. If you talk to people in the 80%, and you ask them if they want to join the 20% and become an achiever and get more and do more and have more, et cetera, almost all of them will say yes. Please keep liking alive over there on TikTok. Keep liking alive. Almost all of them will say yes. However, if you really want to know what somebody's about, don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do. Don't watch their mouth, watch their legs. Because their legs, they got to actually go do something. That's where you find out what somebody is really about. Because everybody is about it when they're just talking. When it comes time to actually do it, things change. And most people don't want to be in this position of power, status, achievement, et cetera. Because first of all, there's a cost to getting there. Secondly, there's a cost to being there. And that's what we're going to be talking about here today. So let me introduce myself first. For those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year professional athlete. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. What we do here is we have created a weaponized system of performance, discipline, and accountability that this applies to high-level performers, high-level thinking individuals, entrepreneurs, professionals, business teams. Any of you have a high-performance team that you need to measure their performance and they know they got to get out there and perform consistently. What we do is made for people like you and teams like yours. You can learn more about working with me and working with us by going to the link in my profile or the pinned comment that you see in my bio or in the live, wherever you're watching this. We are live on Rumble Studio, Rumble itself, YouTube, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok all at the same time. So I'm streaming in more than one platform. So when I say that, I'm not just talking about the one that you're watching on. So getting into this topic, please also, by the way, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. For those of you who are watching me for the first time, if you like this, I do these 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday on business days. Holidays, usually I'm not, but any normal business day, I'm here. And what's the other thing? Like the live. If you're watching on TikTok, we try to get to 100K likes every time I do a live stream here. I usually go about 90 minutes. So we want to get to 100K likes. We're at 11,600 likes right now on TikTok. So please keep liking the live. Get us up to 13,000 likes before I get into these points, please. 13,000 likes, please, before we get into these points. I have a program coming up while I'm waiting for that called the Power Presence Protocol, which is all about the way you show up and the energy that you carry yourself with. I'm going to be teaching that live teaching for 6 weeks starting on August the 19th. August 19th, you can learn more about that by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com/power. Put the word power. Workonyourgameuniversity.com/power. I sent out some emails about it already, but I haven't announced it to social media. So if you didn't hear me talk about that, workonyourgameuniversity.com/power. That's where you can get into that. Get live training from me. It's all about presence, energy, the way you show up, and your aura. All of those things lead into the things you do. They lead to the outcomes that you get. So let's get into the topic here today. And someone asked, what's my name on Rumble? Dre All Day. If you look up Dre Baldwin or Dre All Day or Work on Your Game, you'll find me. So my name on Rumble is, I'm looking at Rumble Studio now. It says Dre All Day. So I'm guessing it's rumble.com. So it's Dre All Day or however they organize the names. So Elon Musk earned his money. Let's talk about that because a lot of people have this idea, this belief, not even an idea, it's a belief. Elon Musk earned his money by exploiting other people. He got government contracts. He got help from all these other people. He came from this country. His parents are this, his parents are that. Elon Musk earned his money by solving problems. Or that's how you make money in business or earn money. The way you earn money in any business, in any career, and in any profession, whether you are the entrepreneur owner, whether you are the employee who cleans the bathrooms, the only way anybody earns money is by solving a problem that somebody else has that person is willing to give money to get the problem solved. That is the only way anyone earns money. I want to let that point sink in, and I'm going to say it again. Only way any person earns money is you must solve a problem for someone else that person is willing to pay money to have solved. Now, you solve a problem for somebody and they're not willing to pay for it, then you don't get any money. But you solve a problem with someone that they're willing to pay for it, you get money. So if you're helping an old lady cross the street, she might not be willing to pay you to help her cross the street, even though she needs the help. You help her out of kindness of your heart. That makes you a good Samaritan. If you create the iPhone and you want the whole world to use the iPhone, then you put a price tag on it. How much is the latest iPhone? The $1,200, let's say. I think the cheapest one's $1,000. You put a price tag of $1,000 on the phone. Anybody who really wants that phone, they'll part with their $1,000 to get the phone. That's the even exchange. That is business. Only way anybody makes money is you must solve a problem. What is the problem that you're solving when you sell someone an iPhone? Is that they want an iPhone. So they don't have one. You solve the problem of them not having one by giving them one. They give you $1,000 in exchange. Business deal is done. Elon Musk did this. He solved big problems for lots of people. That's why he makes lots of money. All right, simply said. Some say, well, he exploited his employees or he exploited his team or he got government contracts. Let's talk about the government contracts. And we're going to keep it simple. One reason Elon Musk has contracts from the government is because Elon Musk solves big problems for lots of people, and the government is interested in people who solve lots of problems for lots of people, because that is essentially the government's, ostensibly their job is to help people out or at least make things livable and workable for the citizens of a country. That's the purpose of the government. Make things livable and workable for the citizens. I personally am not really with the concept of the government is supposed to help us, but some people are. Let's just say their job is to at least make situations should be livable and handleable for every human being who lives in the country. I think the government as an entity does have that somewhat, some way, that responsibility. So when someone like Elon Musk comes around and says, hey, I'm going to solve this problem and that problem, I'm going to solve the problem of electric vehicles so that we can get off of burning fuel and destroying the ozone layer or whatever it is. We're going to get people on electric cars. This is a safer, more effective, and more economic way, energy-wise, for people to get around in their cars. And the government agrees. I'm not even saying that I agree, but let's just say the government agrees. I don't like electric cars, but a lot of people do. The government says, okay, we like the fact that you're doing that, Mr. Musk. How about we give you more incentives to keep doing it and more ways to do it more effectively and more efficiently? We're going to give you some contracts through us that provides you funding and provides you runway and provides you, it cuts through all the red tape and the bureaucracy so that you can do more of this thing that we want you to do. Understand what I just told you about making money. The way that you earn money is you must solve a problem for someone who is willing to pay for that problem. So if the United States government says this is a problem and we want to solve it, you individually do not have to agree with the United States government's diagnosis of the problem. You may think they're solving the wrong problem. You can think that all you want. But if they say this is the problem that we want to solve and they're looking for someone to solve it and they're willing to spend money for the person who solved the problem, then that is how business happens. Again, I'm not a fan of electric cars, but the government says we want more electric cars. We want to stimulate the development of the electric vehicle and electric everything because it's more effective than anything that burns coal and burns fossil fuel. That's what the government generally has believed. So the government says anybody who can help us with this, we'll give them some money. Elon said, I'll help. They gave him money. Elon said, we got electric cars. A bunch of everyday people said, I want an electric car. I want a Tesla. I want an EV. And a lot of people drive electric vehicles. How many of you drive electric vehicles? Put EV in the comments if you drive an electric vehicle. A lot of people drive electric vehicles. And to get the electric vehicle, I mean, was it free? Or did you pay for it? Okay. So all of you have an electric vehicle, you paid for it, right? You had to put some money down, right? And you had to pay money consistently for it, right? Okay. Where's that money going to? Whoever it is that sold you the vehicle. Elon Musk has a big hand in all of that. He's made money because he solved a whole lot of problems for a whole lot of people and highly valuable problems. The bigger the problem you solve, the more money you make. If you have a lemonade stand and you're selling lemonade for 50 cents a cup, you are solving a problem and people will pay you 50 cents for a cup of lemonade. However, your problem that you're solving is only worth 50 cents. If you want to make more money, then you got to solve bigger problems. Elon Musk has solved a big problem. A vehicle, how much does the electric vehicle cost? So let's just say the electric vehicle costs $40,000. Let's just say it's a $40,000 electric vehicle or it's a $100,000 vehicle, whatever it is. It's a bigger problem. The bigger the problem, the bigger the price tag. Everybody understand this? The bigger the problem, the bigger the price tag. Here's another thing you should understand. This is a simple business lesson for you entrepreneurial-minded folks out there. The same problem carries a bigger price tag for different people. The same problem carries a bigger price tag for different people. Not everybody considers the same problem to have the same value in their lives. Some people don't like smartphones. There are some people out there who I know of who don't actually own a smartphone. So for you to try to sell them the newest iPhone for $1,000, it won't work because they don't see the phone as worth $1,000. They will not part with their money to get it. Some of you love the iPhone so much that not only will you get the $1,000 phone, you want the biggest one with the most storage, so you'll pay $1,500 for the iPhone. Why? Because you care about it that much. Exact same product. What's the difference? The problem for you is much bigger than the problem for the person who doesn't even like smartphones. So you solve the right problem for the right person. That's when you hit the sweet spot, which is a note to all of you out there that you don't have to get everybody to agree with you on whatever problem you're solving or even how you solve it. You just got to find the right people who are interested. This is known as marketing. Moving on. Some people say that Elon Musk could end homelessness. He could end homelessness. He could just build all these houses with all the money that he has, again, if it was actual money. That's not a real solution. As I said, it's a moral guilt tactic that ignores how complex the problem actually is. This is something I said last week. I will say it again this week. I'll say it again moving forward all the time. Please keep liking the live over on TikTok. Let's get up to 30K likes, please. Most problems, especially big ones that have been going on for decades, like world hunger or even American hunger, homelessness, the educational system, the financial system, the money system, the government in the United States with our binary process of Democrat and Republicans, all of these things, the racial tensions, whatever you want to call it, all of these things are what we call multivariate problems. Does everybody know what that term means? Multivariate is simply a combination of two words, multiple and variables. Is all you know what a variable is. A variable is something that is not always the same, and it can change from moment to moment, place to place, person to person, situation to situation. That's what a variable is. Multivariate simply means that a situation has multiple variables, also known as moving parts. Any situation that is multivariate with moving parts cannot be solved with a simple, oh, well, we just do this and that'll solve the whole problem. It's not that simple. It's not a one size fits all solution. In other words, the homelessness issue in the United States of America is real. There are people who are homeless. It is an issue. And there are people out there who want to solve that problem. At the same time, solving the homelessness issue is not as simple as, well, somebody with a whole lot of money should just throw money at the problem and that'll solve everything. All right, have you seen that movie before? Oh, here's a problem. Let's just put more money into the problem. That'll solve it. Again, when has that ever worked? If you name an issue in life in a big picture, multivariate issue has ever been solved by just throwing more money at it. The government has been throwing money at problems for at least the last 60 years. How many of them have they solved? Has it, the government itself? How many problems has the government solved by throwing money at it? From what I see, it often has exacerbated issues that they were allegedly trying to solve by throwing money at it. But your favorite politician will tell you, well, just throw some more money at the problem. That'll solve the problem. That's not the way you solve the problem of homelessness. Homelessness is not just a bunch of people don't have money to buy a house. That's not the homelessness issue. It's a lot bigger than that. So Elon Musk, even if his $400 billion was actual liquid cash, it's not. But even if it was, that would not solve the homelessness issue. So it sounds good when people are talking about it on social media and they have no accountability to actually telling me how that solves the problem. And this is the reason why these problems are just ongoing. This is why politics is what it is in America, is that you can just keep talking about the same problem, keep recycling the same issue because it's not going to be solved with the current way that it's being addressed. You got a lot of people who are not, you got some people who are very intelligent, some people who are not quite working in the government who are making all the decisions. These are people we voted for, by the way. We voted for these people. And they're trying to give you these simple solutions to complex problems. And it's the reason why the problems exist, and they just continue. The problems just go on and on because you can't solve a complex problem often with a very simple one-size-fits-all solution. It does not work that way. And if it did, how over the last 60 years has none of the smart, intelligent people who've been talking about it and writing books about it and doing studies and giving speeches, how has it come to be that nobody's been able to solve the problems? Why hasn't anybody solved homelessness, being that we've had so many smart people living in the last 60 years? Why has nobody solved the problem? You don't like Trump? Okay, what about Obama? Why he ain't solved it? What about Biden? What about Clinton? What about Bush? What about Reagan? What about the first Bush? I mean, we had Democrats, we had Republicans. We had people you like, we had people you don't like. Nobody has solved the problem. Why not? Because the problem is not so easy to solve. Why has nobody solved the hunger problem? There are people out there who don't know where the next meal's coming from. Is this real? Yes. Is it easily solvable? No. Why not? I just told you why. These are multivariate problems. So this guy has money, he can solve the problem. No, not true. Billionaires. And I'm using air quotes anytime I say billionaires, because again, I already explained to you all that this is net worths, and net worths are estimates, and people who are doing the estimating don't have any idea how much somebody actually has, unless the person's telling you that they got it, which also means they might be overestimating just so they can be on a list of billionaires. That matters to some people for their status. A billionaire, let's say someone actually has $1 billion. Just because they have it does not mean they owe anybody else any form of redistribution other than what is legal, i.e., pay your taxes and whatever loopholes you can use to avoid giving your money to the government. I would suggest all of you do it, even if you make 50 grand a year. Why? Because government is very inefficient with money, inefficient and ineffective with money. We know this. We have, again, 60 years of evidence. Most of you are not even 60 years of age. We have 60 years of evidence that proves this. The government is not efficient with money. So saying that some quote unquote billionaire should pay their quote unquote fair share of taxes, Joe Biden voice, this is not going to solve the problem. What's the other guy's name? Bernie Sanders voice, AOC voice, Barack Obama voice. This is not going to solve the problem. Because if that's all it took, the government has access to getting money as much as it actually needs at any time. So if it's really about some billionaire paying their fair share, the government has access to more money, and it can get access to more money with a phone call than it could ever collect from taxes through a billionaire. So if it's all about billionaires paying their fair share, why has the government not solved whatever problem they claim billionaires paying their fair share would solve? They can still solve the problem. They get access to that money. How much money would Elon pay in taxes? If Elon had to pay his fair share in taxes, how much money would that be? Somebody give me a number. Give me a number in the comments. And I'll give you an example, an anecdotal example, hypothetical anecdotal example of this. Give me a number. How much money, if Elon was paying his fair share in taxes, how much would that be? How much would the government collect from Elon? Allegedly worth $400 billion. And again, that's not actual revenue, by the way. But let's say he just paid. How much is that? Give me a number, folks. I'm looking for a number in the chat. How much money would Elon pay in taxes? I need a dollar amount. How much money would he pay in taxes if he was paying his fair share? So let's see what we got. Random Bots says 7 billion. Sophie the Cat said most of it. No, that's not a number. Renee said 200 billion. Traditional said 2 billion. That's a big difference. That's a big difference in money. Bourbon for President says 11 million. Marcus says all of it. Renee says half of his money. I need dollar amounts, folks. I need a dollar. Okay, so let's just say he paid 200 billion. Let's say $200 billion. If Elon Musk paid $200 billion to the government now has $200 billion, is $200 billion richer thanks to Elon Musk. Is that going to solve the problems that we have? Is that going to solve the housing market? The government is going to turn around with that 200 billion and just solve all the problems. Y'all want the government building your houses? Y'all want the government building your houses? How many of you want to live in a house built by the government? Put yes or no in the comments. Give me a yes or no in the comments. How many of you want to live in a house built by the government? Because this is the whole fair share, right? So Elon pays $200 billion to the government. So do you want to live in a house that the government built? Yes or no? All right, with Elon's money. Okay, so I'm getting a bunch of no's. How many of you want your breakfast, lunch, and dinner and the food of your kids supplied to you by the government? How many of you want to eat government meals? All right, with Elon Musk's $200 billion. Put yes or no in the comments. How many of you want to eat food that is supplied by the government thanks to Elon Musk's $200 billion? So a bunch of you saying no to that. All right, so a bunch of people, what's another problem happening in the world? What's another problem we got? How many of you want your money, your paychecks, coming straight from the government? You just want the government paying you. You just want the government to be responsible for your money, your income. You want the government in charge of that, and they they send money to you every 2 weeks. How many of you want your money coming from the government? With Elon Musk, $200 billion, yes or no? How many of you want your money coming straight from the government? You want the government controlling when and how and where you get paid? Put a yes or no in the comments. With Elon Musk's $200 billion. So it's actually Elon's money, but the government is going to control it, and they're going to disperse the money out to all of you. How many of you want your money coming from the government? Okay, so what problem is the government going to solve if billionaires pay their fair share? Somebody give me an answer. I thought it was homelessness, housing, and the money issue. I thought those were the biggest problems, but maybe I'm missing one. What problem is the government going to solve if they get billionaires to pay their quote-unquote fair share, and now they got all this money? What are they going to do? What problem are they going to solve? Can somebody help me? What problem is the government going to solve with the money that they collect from the billionaires? So let's see. Random Bot says interest reduction in overseas debt. Okay. All right. Let's just say they take the money and they just start paying down the money that we owe to other countries, assuming that that's all they do with the money. Fine. Let's just say that that's true. All right. I'll give you that one. We'll come back to that in a second. Nobody else has an answer. Brooke says less tax percentage on the middle class. I don't know. How are you working that one out, Brooke? So they collect more money from Elon Musk, et cetera, and you're saying less tax from the middle class. But the government collects a good amount of taxes from the middle class. I don't know if I don't know if the government's gonna go for that. I mean, it sounds like a good idea. I'm not sure they're gonna go for that. IT Burnout said they've proven they can't spend the money appropriately. Lahek said, I was a teacher. The government did pay my salary. It should have been better. So you're saying, okay, as a teacher, that they could just pay more money to people who work for the government, such as a teacher. National debt. Okay. Education. What about education? Sophie says disaster relief. Okay. Government will just get richer while the average person gets poorer. Okay. So what it sounds like from what most of you are saying is that even if the government was to collect more money from billionaires, quote unquote, paying their Joe Biden voice fair share, that you don't see anything that's actually going to come from this, even though the government has collected more money. I've already explained to you, most of you pretty much understand this. The government is very inefficient with money. First of all, when the government collects $1, a whole bunch of that dollar is getting sliced up and going to things that have nothing to do with you. All of you understand that? All you understand when the government collects money, it's not like they just turn around and hand it to somebody else. Because if so, there would be no need for them. There'd be no need for the middleman. Government is a middleman of money. That means they take money from you through your taxes. Everybody pays on some level. And even if you pay $0 in income taxes, you still pay sales tax. Every time you buy something, there's tax on it. So they take the money from you. Then they take their cut off that money. And then whatever's left, they go disperse it allegedly to something that's supposed to solve the problem. Again, this has pretty much been the system for the last 60 years. What problems have they solved? Can anybody name a problem that the government completely solved over the last 60 years? It's been collecting money from us for that long. Anybody name a problem? What problem has the government addressed and solved simply because they had the money and they just went and solved the problem? There was a problem, now it's no longer a problem. Can anybody give me an answer? What problem have they solved? We're at 38K likes. Let's keep getting the likes up, folks. Let's get up to 40K quickly. Can anybody name a problem that the government has solved in the last 60 years? It was a problem, now it's no longer a problem. Random Bot said the bridges in my state were repaired. Okay, fair enough. But that's not really, that's always going to be an issue. They always got to repair the bridges. And that's a state level thing, not really a federal thing. But I kind of get what you're saying. Nobody's giving me an answer of any problem the government has solved over the last 60 years. Is this only because they don't have enough money? Again, the government comes up with money when it's time for war. The government comes up with money very quickly. We never come up short on money when it was time for a battle, at least not in my lifetime. So nobody's giving me an answer of anything the government has solved. So why is Elon, with more money, why is this going to solve a problem? Again, people always, every time this conversation about the oligarchs, Bernie Sanders' voice, the oligarchs and the rich people and the billionaires and quote unquote the rich, this X number of people control 50% of the wealth. And you hear these things all the time. Okay, let's say you had it. What problem are you going to solve? People use this argument selectively. Now, you notice that nobody talks about, hey, Oprah could solve world hunger, or Beyonce, or Jay-Z, or Rihanna, or Kylie Jenner. They could solve homelessness and world hunger with their money. Aren't these people all noted to be billionaires? Last time I checked, that's what I heard. Can anybody verify and confirm this? Isn't it noted that Oprah Winfrey and Kylie Jenner and Kim Kardashian and Jay-Z and Beyonce and who else? Kanye West and who's other people that's supposed to be billionaires? All these other people that people generally like, aren't they noted to be billionaires? Why is nobody talking about what they could do? What problems they could solve with their money? Why is nobody talking about that? Tyler Perry, he's a billionaire. Okay, Taylor Swift, yeah. Why are these people never have these same things said about them? Why is it only Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and who's the other guy? Bill Gates. Why do people only mention them, but they don't mention all these other people who allegedly are billionaires? I mean, a billionaire, you could take half the money that you got, Mr. or Mrs. Billionaire, solve these problems, and your lifestyle wouldn't change at all, right? That's what they say about Elon. Why don't they say it about Beyonce? Why can't Beyonce solve world hunger? Why they got to wait for, someone said, professional athletes? No, most of them are not billionaires. I think the one that's noted is we got Michael Jordan and then you got maybe LeBron, but nobody else is at that level quite yet. So Brooke said, aren't we including them with other billionaires? That's not what I hear, Brooke. When I hear names mentioned, I don't hear anybody say Beyonce could solve homelessness. I never heard anybody say that. I hear people say Elon Musk could solve homelessness. I hear people say Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. I never hear somebody say Tyler Perry could solve homelessness and Oprah could solve world hunger. I never hear anybody say that. Someone said a sense of billionaire is outrageous level of wealth. Define outrageous. Random said they pay their taxes and are philanthropic. Bill Gates probably giving more money to charity than all those people put together. Whoever's that they is you're talking about, these entertainers I just named, Bill Gates has probably done more charitable work. If we were to dollar cost it, how much it costs, Bill Gates done more than all those people put together. So no, it's not about being philanthropic. It depends on where your money's going. If you know anything about charities, a lot of that money, again, charities are middlemen. And if you know anything about the way the charitable world works, anybody here ever worked in a charity or ever know anything about the books of a charity? Most of that money ain't going to the thing that you think you're giving money to. That money is going to the paychecks of the people who work at the charity and a whole bunch of administrative clerical nonsense. And then some pennies, a percentage of that dollar is going to whatever charity you're supposed to be serving. So any of you know anything about the way the charitable world works? The United States of America, 501c3 organizations, a lot of that money ain't going nowhere near the very thing that you think you're donating to. And anybody who knows that world knows this. Anyway, Elon Musk contributes more than most governments. He already pays taxes. Secondly, he creates jobs. And I've explained this before. The government loves entrepreneurs because entrepreneurs create jobs. Even if you start a business and you are the only person working in your business, well, guess what? You're no longer unemployed. Now you got a job. Because see, if you don't have a job at all, you're doing nothing. You're part of unemployment, and the government might have to give you money to keep you afloat while you're unemployed, and that makes the government look bad because it's another unemployed person. But if you start a business, now you're employed. Now you got a job. Now you're making money, right? You're selling things. You're selling products and services. You make money. And when you get paid, ostensibly, you end up paying taxes next April, and the government is able to collect money off the money that you made. But if you weren't making any money, they can't make any money off you. All right? Ain't no taxes to pay. You ain't got no income. But if you have income, you're making money. So the government loves entrepreneurs because entrepreneurs create jobs. Whether they create one job, two jobs, or hundreds of jobs, hundreds of thousands of jobs like Elon Musk. Why does the government care if you create jobs? The government cares that you create jobs because when you create a job, everybody who is on your payroll, every single time you issue them a paycheck, what does the government do? Any of you who's ever received a paycheck, I don't know how they do it these days. I guess, do y'all still get pay stubs? Most of you probably get direct deposit. But if you look at your pay stub, what's on that pay stub? Anybody tell me, anybody who gets a paycheck, what's on your pay stub when you get paid? If you even see your pay stubs. Those of you old enough to remember when you actually hold the check in your hand, what's on that pay stub? Deductions. All right, the government's taking their cut. And here's the thing. The government loves entrepreneurs because entrepreneurs create jobs. A job means you have employees. There are employees. Why does the government love employees? The government loves employees because different from entrepreneurs is that they get to take your money before you have a say. They get to take your money off the top. So with employees, the government gets paid up front. With entrepreneurs, the government gets paid last. If you're an employee, the government gets paid first. They get your money before you get your money. Is that true? And if you ever looked at your pay stub, look at all those deductions. I remember I was working at this restaurant called Friendly's when I was like 16, outside of the Plymouth Meeting Mall and outside of Philadelphia, PA. And I remember one day finally paying attention to that. I was looking at these deductions because I remember I worked a certain number of hours and I knew what my hourly rate was. So I was expecting my check to be like, this was what, 90s, 100, and I was expecting maybe $140, $150, but I knew they would take taxes out. And then, excuse me, I look at the deductions. I start calculating the deductions. The first time I really paid attention to it. And I'm like, damn, my check was only like $88 or something like that. Mind you, this is back in the day. $88 for my paycheck, even though my work had produced like $140. Where's all this money going to? And I actually pulled out a calculator and I did some rudimentary math to try to figure out where the money was going. A majority of it, if I remember, this is in the state of Pennsylvania, by the way. A majority of that money was going to Social Security. I remember that. The Social Security. Social Security, I knew what Social Security was because you had to have a Social Security number to get a job. You had to know that 9-digit number or 8-digit number in order to get your job. I knew Social Security from that. But then I learned more about Social Security. It's like stuff that goes to old people and stuff like that. The majority of the money was going to that, but they were taking out a lot of money. The federal income tax was taking out a good amount of money too. I'm like, these guys are taking a whole lot of money from my paycheck every check. And I didn't know anybody who knew anything about business or money who I could ask them, hey, what does this mean? I didn't really ask my parents. They didn't know much about business or money. I didn't ask them. I didn't know anybody who knew. Now I know. But this is the government taking your money off the top. Well, they're taking their money. It's their money. You thought it was your money. They take their money off the top. So the government loves people like Elon and Jeff and Bill Gates. Why? Because they create jobs. And when you create jobs, you create employees. Employees mean the government gets to take their money off the top, and the government loves that. So they incentivize people like Elon to create more jobs. What do you need to create more jobs, Elon? You need this grant, this contract from us? Okay, great. Here it is. Go create more jobs. Go put more Americans to work who now get a paycheck, and now we could take our money off their check before they touch it. Thank you, Elon. Please go create more jobs, Elon. Thank you. And by the way, any of you could do this. Start a business. Start employing people. You start employing people, the government will help you out. They'll give you tax breaks just so they can tax your employees. That's the way it works. In case any of you didn't know, you have way more tax flexibility as an entrepreneur than you have as an employee. As an employee, you have no flexibility because they just take your money. You have no say. This is not a conversation. They just take the money. If you're an entrepreneur, you have a say. You can actually do your taxes. You can call an accountant. You can figure out different ways that you can maneuver within the laws, the confines of the tax code. And even if you have a full-time job, any of you who's ever heard anybody say this, please listen. If you haven't, you can have a business on the side, and just having a business on the side is not even your full-time gig. As long as it makes some money, you're doing something with it. That can create tax breaks that you cannot get if you only work your full-time job. Even if you got a side gig that pays you $500 a month, it creates breaks for your money that you can't get from your job. Even if your job decides to pay you an extra $500 a month, you would keep more of your money if you made that same $500 as a side hustle, side business. Nothing I'm telling you is financial advice. Please consult an accountant or a tax lawyer before making any financial decisions. That's my disclaimer. Okay. Contributing, Elon Musk is already doing this. By creating jobs, he's helping the government out more than any amount of taxes they could take from him, which is why they don't tax him. Again, you think the government hasn't figured out, hey, how about we just put heavier taxes on people with a whole bunch of money? Think nobody's thought of that in the last 100 years? Income tax has been around for about 100 years. A little bit more than that. Think they never thought about that? Why don't we just tax these guys more money? Then we have more money. No, they don't want that. Because there's a whole lot of, again, multivariate problems you create when you start doing it. They can move their business out of the United States. They got enough money to do it. They can just go hire some people in Brazil, Taiwan to go work for them. Okay, now no Americans have a job. Now Elon takes his 100,000 jobs outside the United States. The government doesn't want that. So there's a trade-off to everything, folks. It's not simple black and white answers. So this outrage, this fake outrage, not real outrage. Nobody's really outraged by the fact that Elon has $400 billion net worth. Maybe Bernie Sanders is outraged. Maybe. I somewhat believe Bernie Sanders. Everybody else, I don't believe. But people are mad that someone can win in a way that they didn't win. And instead of just saying, damn, this person has done some things, I wonder what they did and how they did this. Let me find out. Maybe I'm not going to become a 400 billionaire like Elon, but maybe I can take a couple of things from what he did and apply it to what I do that can help me. Maybe I can do that. That's the way I look at things. When I see someone succeeding, one thing that I never do is look at them and say, well, let me go find something negative about them that I can say so I can feel better and I can rationalize their achievement as compared to where I'm at, whether they've outachieved me or they did something that I didn't do or whatever. I don't try to compare me to them. First thing I do is say, that's okay. This person did something that I consider to be impressive. This guy's worth $400 billion. That's impressive. If you're interested in making money, somebody being worth $400 billion is an impressive outcome because we haven't heard of anybody else doing it. All right, how did he do it? All right, what did he do? Now, again, am I going to go create an electric vehicle? No. Am I trying to go to outer space? Also, no. Do I want to put planet on Mars? Also, no. Do I want to have 8 baby moms and 15 kids? Also, no. I don't want to do any of those things. But I can look at what he did and say, let me look at all the pieces that allow him to be who he is, and let me see if there's 1 or 2 or 10 things I can steal from him and start using for myself. See, this is the way a successful person thinks. This is the way high-achieving people think. Whereas average people, they think the opposite. They see someone achieving something, the first thing they think about is how can I in my own mind, pull this person down so that they're closer to where I'm at. This is all mental. Notice I didn't say anything about anything you had to do. I didn't say go start a business. I didn't say go get a tax break. I didn't say go get a website. I didn't say go register an LLC. I didn't say any of those things. Everything I just described to you is about the way you choose to think about it when you see somebody else succeeding. Do you look at it and say, let me see what I can glean from that and use myself? Or do you look at it and say, let me find out what's wrong with that so that I can cope as to why they are where they are compared to why I'm at where I'm at? And 80% of people choose the second option. 20% of people choose the first option. This is the reason why most people are average or worse. Because of the way they think, not because of what they do, not because of your talent, it's not because of your gender, your race, your orientation, none of that stuff. Your family, where you're from, all that is nonsense, excuse, cope, bullshit. When it comes to actual achievement, it starts with the way that you think. When you see someone else achieve, how are you looking at it? Please keep getting the likes up, folks. Thank you, moderators, for telling everybody keep getting the likes up. So wealth, ladies and gentlemen, does not equal greed. I don't know when this began. I don't know how it began. I don't know. I do know why, I guess. Wealth does not equal greed. Someone has a whole lot of money, whatever you consider to be wealth. Let's just say a billionaire is wealthy. Just because someone has $1 billion or $1 billion noted net worth does not mean that they are a greedy individual. But even if they were, so what? If somebody's greedy, so what? Let's just say Elon Musk is greedy. He just wants to have as much money as possible. So why is that wrong? What's wrong with him wanting to have as much money as possible? No dollar that Elon Musk makes means there is less dollars for you to go get. If Elon Musk makes $100 million today, that has no bearing on whether or not you can make $100 million tomorrow. Money exists, and especially the money that we're dealing with here in the United States of America today, exists in unlimited quantities. Somebody else making money does not mean you can't make money. And again, this is the mindset, folks. Mindset is the foundation of the work that we do here at Work on Your Game Incorporated. Is that when you see somebody else achieving something, you have two ways of looking at it. Well, three. One is that you can completely ignore it and not notice it and just be completely oblivious to what you just saw. But let's forget about that one. One way is that you can look at it and say, well, yeah, he could do it. Yeah, she could do it. Well, yeah, he can do it because his parents were this and because she's that and because he can jump high and dunk a basketball and she can sing and he's skinny and she has blonde hair. So, of course, they can be successful. Yeah, of course. So you look at it that way. See, that's the cynical way of looking at things. That is the loser / average person's way of looking at things. This is the way that most people look at life. They see someone else achieving and they come up with a story in their mind as to why it's okay for them to do it, but it's impossible for you to do it. That's one way of doing things. You can do that if you so choose. I suggest that you don't, but most people, this is how they think. The other way of looking at things is, damn, somebody did it. See, one way of looking at it is, oh, he did it, of course, because he's LeBron James. Oh, she did it, of course, because she's Oprah. Of course, she's Beyonce. Of course, she's Taylor Swift. Of course, he's Elon Musk. Of course, he can be successful. But what about me? See, another way of looking at it is, okay, Elon did it. Oprah did it. Beyonce did it. LeBron did it. That means there's something in there that gives a hint as to what I could do. Even though I can't sing like Beyonce or dance like Beyonce or sing like Taylor Swift or talk to people like Oprah, and I can't invent electric vehicles like Elon or whatever. I can't dunk like LeBron, but there's something I could take from what those people did that I could use for my own process, my own achievement. And again, this is a mindset, folks. Notice I haven't said anything about anything you have to actually do. I'm just talking about the way you think. And there's a lot of loser mindsets people roaming the earth. And the reason why this matters is because I don't think most of you are loser mindset people. But the reason why this matters is that you have to be very careful and guard your mind against these people because you are probably surrounded by them just by the laws of probability. I just told you 80% of people think like this. 20% of people do not. So if I just put you in a room randomly with a whole bunch of people, it's a pretty good chance that most of them are losers in their mind. They're losers. They wouldn't call themselves losers, but mentally, this is the way they think. Oh, well, of course, that person's successful because they have fill in the blank, whatever it is about them that you think makes them special and exceptional. But what you ignore is what is it about what they did that you could possibly use yourself? See, that part you ignore. That's what makes somebody a loser, is that you ignore the pieces that could help you and you only focus on the pieces that you think are impossible for you. That's a mentality. Does everybody understand what I'm saying here? Wealth does not equal greed. Just because somebody is wealthy does not mean that they're greedy. And even if somebody is greedy, so what? Greed is not against the law. Anybody can be greedy. Any of you want to be greedy, be greedy. What's stopping you? Having money does not mean that you exploited somebody else to get your money. This is a common poor person mindset that keeps a lot of people broke. Let me say it again. This concept that if somebody has a lot of money, the only reason they got it is because they exploited a whole bunch of other people to get it. That is a broke person, loser mentality. Any of you has ever heard that? Whoever you heard it from is a loser. And if you are repeating it, you are fast on your way to becoming one with them. Stop associating with these people. Law of association says you become the average of the people you spend the most time with. Doesn't matter if it's 5 people, 2 people, 1 person, or 1,000 people. Whoever you're spending time around, you're going to become like them. It starts with the way you think, then it leads to the actions, and then it leads to the outcomes. This whole concept of the only way you make a lot of money is by exploiting people or being a bad person or being greedy, and you have been socialized to believe that greed is a bad thing. These are all nonsensical ways of thinking that losers have come up with as what most people these days call cope. It's also known as rationalization. It's a story that you make up in your mind to make something that generally would make you uncomfortable. You allow yourself to be comfortable, so you rationalize it. You'd be uncomfortable to find out that someone who you used to be on the same level with is now 10 levels above you. But instead of saying, damn, what did they do so I can catch up? You instead say, oh, well, I'm smarter than them, or I'm more loved than them, or I'm a better person than them. See, that's cope. That's called rationalization. Making up a bullshit story so you can feel good about something that should make you uncomfortable. The challenge with a lot of people when it comes to success is that a lot of people, as soon as something happens or something occurs to them that will make them feel uncomfortable, they immediately try to figure out a story they can tell themselves so that the discomfort goes away. When what you should do, and again, 80-20 principle, 20% of people, what they do is what you should do, which is sit in the discomfort. Yes, I'm uncomfortable about this. Yes, this stresses me. Yes, this makes me anxious. Yes, this makes me feel not so great. Don't try to make it go away. What you need to do is sit there with it and do something with that discomfort, because discomfort moves people to action. That's the thing about discomfort. It moves you to change. It moves you to action. You know what rationalization and cope do? They create a false narrative in your mind that allows you to keep doing the same things you've been doing and stay the same person who you've always been. The problem with that is the world is always moving forward. And if you're trying to stay in the same spot and stay neutral, you are losing by default. There's no such thing as neutral in the universe. You're either getting better or getting worse. You're growing or dying. You're building or destroying. Most people are dying, destroying, and getting worse. Why? Because they cope away their discomfort. Anytime they feel uncomfortable, they come up with a story so that the discomfort goes away. When what you should do instead is say, yes, this makes me uncomfortable. Let me stay right here and live in this discomfort. So I got to do something about it. Now, how many people do you know think like that? Put a number in the chat. How many people do you know think like this? Even if they never said it. Most people you know probably have never said anything like this. But how many people do you know, you just look at their behavior, they think like this? Put a number in the chat. Just give me a number. I'm not talking people who you actually know, like actual humans. Jen Nurse said I need that recorded. Oh, we're recording everything. Everything gets recorded around here. Everything's recorded around here. So my YouTube channel is recording right now. All this is recorded. So a few of you saying that you think like that. My question is, how many people do you know who think like this? You is fine. You personally, great. How many other people that you actually know, that you talk to, how many do you know who think like this? Remember, law of association. You got to associate with somebody else. All right, y'all ain't living out in the woods by yourselves, right? How many people do you know who fit this description? So this is the whole thing when it comes to Bernie Sanders. I heard him on Joe Rogan like a month ago. And Bernie, when I got to hear him in context, generally he makes sense. The problem is most people do not listen to things in context. Most people don't listen to the whole 2 hours of Bernie's interview. They get the sound bites of what he says. They see the headlines of what he says, and they just run off of that. And Bernie, being a salesperson, he's successfully got himself elected to public office many times over decades. We got to call him successful at the game of politics. Even if you don't like his concepts, we can't say he's not successful at the game. One of the things about Bernie is that he understands you got to get people with the soundbite. You got to hit them with the soundbite. And the soundbite is these oligarchs, these people with all this money, they're the problem in America. And if you're not one of the people with all the money, instead of looking at yourself and figuring out what you need to do, all we got to do is go after these rich guys. They're the problem. If we get the rich guys, that'll solve your problem. That's bullshit. And Bernie knows this, but again, Bernie's a politician. He has to play the game. If I was talking to Bernie right now, I would explain to him what I just explained to you. He already knows this. I wouldn't have to explain it. He's twice my age. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows the game. This is where you got to play when you're in politics. This is the reason why none of you should ever be depending or hoping for a politician to solve your problems, because they got to play a certain game that you ain't playing. The game that they're playing is, I got to give you the simple sounding, easy to understand and easy to remember and easy to repeat soundbite that sounds like it's the solution to all your problems, when that's never the solution to all your problems. It's not that easy. If it was that easy, you tell me Bernie couldn't have solved it in 50 years in government, he would have been solved the problem. But he has to keep playing the game a certain way. And Bernie is probably, he sounded, when I heard him on Joe Rogan, he sounded like a rational enough guy that if he and I had a conversation, he would probably agree with these things that I'm saying. The problem is he couldn't agree on camera because he can't let this get out. If we're having a conversation off the record and nobody will ever know we had it, he would agree with everything that I'm saying. But on the record, he can't do it because it would be kryptonite to his career. Because it would take everything that he stands on and it'd be like, oh, he's lying. If he actually told the truth on camera. The truth on camera is he has to sell that to the everyday person. Why does he have to sell the idea that the oligarchs are the problem to the everyday person? I just told you. The reason he has to sell that to the everyday person because the everyday person does not want to hear what I would say to them, which is not Elon Musk's fault that you don't have money. It's your fault. And you need to do something about it. Now, I can help you do something about it. But first of all, you got to get in the mindset that is not him, her, or them, or they that is causing your problem. It is you. And as soon as you accept that, now I can help you. But until you get over that hump, I can't do anything for you. 80% of people don't want to get over that hump. They don't want to get over the hump. No matter what I said, they don't want to. Only 20% of people even want to be on their side of the fence. And see, Bernie Sanders is a politician. To be a successful politician in America, you can't talk to 20% of the people and win. That's not possible. That's another reason why I'm not a politician. So sometimes I'm talking about politics. People say you should run for office. No, I shouldn't run for office because if I start talking like this, it'd be over. I would not win never win an election. I would only get 20% of the vote. Are you understanding this? Everybody understanding where I'm coming from here? Only 20% of people want to hear this. So I can't win an election because you can't win an election only getting 20% of the vote. You got to get more than half. That's the way the game works. Most people would rather take a convenient excuse where they can blame somebody else for their problems rather than taking ownership of their issues. Because taking ownership of your issue requires responsibility and accountability, which means you can't blame anybody. Even when things are going terrible, you got to own it. And that discomfort that you got to sit in when things are going terrible and you own it, most people cannot live in that discomfort. They can't stand the discomfort. They can't handle it. So they turn on some entertainment. Let me go watch a Beyonce concert. That'll make me feel better. Let me go let Bernie Sanders tell me that Elon Musk is the problem, is the reason why I ain't got no money. All right, let me let Joe Biden tell me that, oh, well, Elon's not paying his fair share. That's why I can't pay my bills. What the hell does that got to do with anything that's happening in your life? The answer is absolutely nothing. And again, I don't think Joe Biden is dumb. I don't think Barack's dumb. I don't think Bernie Sanders is dumb. I don't think these people are dumb. I think they're actually very smart because they just know how to play the game. If I'm going to be in the game of politics, I got to talk a certain way and push a certain idea in order to keep getting elected and to keep my job. All right, they got a job just like you got a job. And they got to do what they got to do. And again, I'm not even knocking them. This is the reason I'm re-emphasizing to all of you, stop depending on and trusting in and hoping for the government to solve your problems. They are playing a game that you are not playing. Their game is incentivized to tell you things that will not help you. They're incentivized to do so. Because if they tell you the truth, like I'm telling you right here, you would never vote for them. You see, I'm not a politician, so I can tell you the truth. If I was a politician, I wouldn't be saying any of this. If I was in politics, any of you who like these lies, if I got into politics, these lies will be over. No more. I would not be doing this ever again because it would harm my career if I wanted to get in politics. No more of this. So if you like this, you better record it because if I get into politics, you will never hear this again. Does everybody understand what I'm saying here? Please keep liking and live, everyone. So wealth does not equal greed. And again, greed is not a bad thing. If you want to be greedy, be greedy. Or you want to get as much money as possible, go get it. There's nothing wrong with getting money. If you want to get as much money as possible, go get the money. You want to get as many girls as possible, go get the girls. You want to have as many kids as possible, you want to be Elon, or go be Elon. With money, you want to be Elon with kids, go do it. What's wrong with that? That's what you want to do. Greed is not a bad thing. And if someone decides they want to be greedy going after something, so what? And it does not mean that if you made a whole bunch of money as a business owner, it doesn't mean you exploited your workers. Let's address this. This is another nonsense quote that people come up with to justify their disagreement, let's just say, for lack of a better term, with anybody know of these things? I got this charging pad for phones. Does this work on an iPad? Can you use this on an iPad? Let's see. I don't think so. Does this charging thing work on an iPad? I don't think so. It does? All right, let's see if I can find a spot on the iPad where this works. Because this has it's magnetic on the back, but it doesn't seem to be sticking. I don't see it sticking. So I got some no answers. I got some yes answers. I don't think it works. Right, it's okay. We got enough battery power. I think we'll make it through. So they say Elon exploited his workers, or ex-rich person exploited their workers. That's how they make a whole bunch of money. First of all, when you have a job, you accept the terms of the job. The job says we're going to pay you this much per hour. Now, how are you being exploited if you say yes? Can somebody explain to me how that's exploitation? If somebody offers you a job, I'm going to pay you this much money, and you say, okay, how are you being exploited? That's not exploitation. If you don't like how much money you're getting paid, quit. Go get a different job. Go into the marketplace, get a better job that pays more money. I don't understand this whole argument that someone's being exploited to something that they voluntarily agreed to. That makes no sense whatsoever. But a lot of people go with this. Someone said it's a cover. Yeah, it might be the cover that I have on it. But see, when I use it on my phone has a cover, and I use it and it still charges. So maybe I just got to find the right spot. I am putting it on the back, but the iPad is a big device. So I don't know. You got to find the sweet spot. I might figure it out after this live is over. I think we'll make it through this live. This is another one of those copes. This is another one of those rationalizations. You took a job. They said, we'll pay you this much. You said, okay. You take the money. You're working there. And you're like, well, I'm being exploited. How are you being exploited with something that you voluntarily show up for? How is that exploitation? Just go get a different job. I mean, if that's really if you really think you're being exploited, why you keep working there? That doesn't make any sense to me. And some may say, well, I don't have the option to go get another job. Yes, you do. You always have the option to go get another job. Are you being held at gunpoint? All right, they got your ID, they got your passport. What are you talking about? You can't go get another job. So critics assume that Elon Musk isn't helping people because he doesn't make a show of helping people. This is a good point that needs to be made. Someone left a comment earlier on here. Somebody left a comment that, so Traditional said, trust me, it works. Okay. Let's try again while I'm still talking. So someone left a comment earlier saying that, well, Oprah and Beyonce and all these other folks, they are philanthropic. They give money to charities, et cetera, et cetera. That's why it's okay that nobody needs to point out that they need to do more to give back because they give money to charities. Well, here's the thing. The purest form of giving, ladies and gentlemen, is anonymous to anonymous. That's the most pure form of giving. Anonymous to anonymous. What does that mean? That means nobody knows that you gave. If you're giving money to charity and everybody knows about it, how do they know about it? Open question. If Beyonce gives money to charity and you know about it, how do you know about it? If Oprah gives money to charity and you know, how do you know? You know Oprah? Was you there? How do you know Oprah gave money to charity? How do you know LeBron gave money to charity? How do you know? You know because they told you. And if you're telling people that you're giving money to charity, are you really giving money to help, or are you giving money because you want to be able to tell people that you gave money? Somebody goes to a business, or they go out in the streets and they give somebody money. Well, are you doing that for them, or are you doing it for you? Jay-Z had a line in his song. What did he say? I can't remember the line, how the whole thing went. He said, did I do it for him or do it for myself? Drake had a song called, what was it called? God's Plan? It's called God's Plan several years ago. This is probably about 2017, 2018. He shot the video right in South Beach. And he goes up to some woman and just hands her a whole bunch of money. He got it in the video. And it's a cool video. It's a nice little video. But if he really did that, was he doing it for the woman, or was he doing it for him? He was doing it for him. So you can put in this video and look like a good guy. That's the whole thing about public charity. If you're doing public charity and you're making news about the fact you're giving to charity, you're doing that to bolster your own reputation. You're not doing it because you actually are helping people. I'm not saying you may not be trying to help people, but we got to weigh it against the fact that you told everybody about it. You got news cameras with you while you're giving to charity. Okay. And these are your These are the good people because they got the news cameras and you know about it. The purest form of giving is anonymous to anonymous. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows who they are. I'll give you an example. I was sitting outside in Brickell this is around the same time that Drake video came out, around that same year, 2017, 2018. I'm sitting in front of a Starbucks. The Starbucks has all the chairs outside, right? I don't even drink coffee. I'm just sitting outside the Starbucks. There's a homeless guy sitting at the table next to me. He's basically asleep at the table. He's got his head down, he's laying in his hands, and he's asleep at the table. And some guy, he's in a nurse outfit, a man. He walks into the Starbucks. He goes into Starbucks. He comes out about 10 minutes later with his coffee. And he walks past me. He walks past the homeless guy at the table. And as soon as he walked past the homeless guy, he stopped. Like he stopped on a dime. Like he needed to be at work. He's walking really fast. He stopped on a dime, turned around, goes back into the Starbucks. He comes back out of the Starbucks like 3 minutes later and then he walks by the table, walks by me, walks by the homeless guy. He puts a cup right there on the table. He does not stop. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't wake up the homeless guy. The homeless guy's still asleep. He walks by, he puts the cup on the table, and he just keeps walking. He leaves. Like 10 minutes later, the homeless guy wakes up and he sees the coffee on the table. He doesn't say anything. He just drinks the coffee. That's anonymous to anonymous. Not let me tell everybody, not let me pull my phone out and let you know what I did so I can post it on Instagram. See, that's performative giving. I'm not saying you didn't give. That's performative. Anonymous to anonymous is you give to somebody who they don't know who you are. And most people don't know that you gave to them. And most people don't know you. And most people don't even know that you did it. Have I not told y'all that story? Nobody would know that dude did that. Nobody else saw it. I saw it because I was sitting next to the homeless guy. And that dude didn't say anything to me. He just walked right by, put the cup down, just kept going. Nobody else saw that. I saw it. That's real giving. That's giving when you actually are wanting to help somebody. It ain't about you. It ain't about putting the attention on yourself. So any of you talking about, well, Beyonce gives to charity. Yeah, okay. How do you know Beyonce gives to charity? Exactly. So the system, ladies and gentlemen, actually, let me back up. If it's not performative charity, people act like it didn't happen. So if Elon Musk doesn't tell you on his social media that he gave money to charity, that means he doesn't give money to charity. I just explained to you how that's nonsense. And if somebody tells you that they gave money to charity, that must make them a good person. Also nonsense. Real giving does not have a name on it. So the system, ladies and gentlemen, that everybody works in, the system, the one that provides money that all of us work in some way, shape, or form, system rewards results. This is a results-based business. Elon produces results. That's why he gets money. He gets paid because he produces results. And Elon has played this game very well, and that's why he's making so much money. Now people are trying to change the scoreboard. Well, it shouldn't be about money. It should be about some other thing that people can claim a moral superiority for. This is nonsense. This is nonsense, everybody. And nobody's asking, again, what can I do to fix the problem? Everybody's talking about what Elon needs to do. This is grandstanding. Here's what Elon should do. But the person who's saying it is doing a whole bunch of nothing. They're posting on social media. So you can feel superior to another person because you're saying something that they are not doing while you are doing nothing. But nobody's asking what you're doing because people don't know who you are. And because you're the one who brought it up, you get the round of applause for saying what Elon should do. But nobody's ever asking the question, well, hey, what are you doing? I mean, you're the one talking. Nobody asked that question. Interestingly enough. All that said, everybody, hopefully my battery doesn't drain here. We'll figure out a way to keep it going one way or another, even if I got to hold the iPad up while I answer questions. I'm on an iPad over here on TikTok. So let's get to the questions and comments. I don't think I saw any on Insta. No, I did see. Big Busy 1K said people with felonies can have jobs. They got a sports stadium. What sports stadium are you talking about? King Works 21. Good morning. Didn't see anything on YouTube. Didn't see Facebook. Didn't see LinkedIn. All right, TikTok is on you all. Please keep liking the live. Let's get to 100K likes, folks, in the next 15 minutes. Let's get to 100K likes in the next 15 minutes, and we'll try to make sure this battery doesn't drain in the next 15 minutes either. So, all right, let's see what we got in the comments. You got something, give it to me. Christopher said they already do. It's called the projects. Yeah, who wants to live in the projects? All right, nobody. All right, the projects has a stigma. Nobody wants to live in the projects. So Tristan said, no more government cheese and peanut butter. Yeah, nobody wants it. So nobody wants government houses. Nobody wants government food. And a lot of people don't even want government money. So why does anybody want the government to tax the rich more? What are they going to do with the money? What are they going to do with this money that people think is so great? The trickle down concept, we all know doesn't work. Trickle down does not work. Taking money from the top is going to find its way to the people at the bottom does not work. If it does, please tell me when it's worked. Mateus said, bros close to an original thought, but keeps these same pathetic conservative talking points. So this is straw man of the day by Mateus. Congratulations, Mateus, for the straw man of the day. So he couches in a little bit of ridicule here, close to an original thought, and then says the same pathetic conservative talking points. Nowhere have I mentioned liberal or conservative, Democrat or Republican, at least not when it comes to anything I identify with. So it's a straw man here that you're trying to slip this in. But Mateus, if you actually disagree with something that I say, then say exactly what you disagree with. Don't be passive aggressive. Passive aggressive is for women and children. Let's see. Universal income. Some are saying that they think universal income is inevitable. I'm not sure about that. I had to look into it a little bit more before I talk about it in depth. I'm not sure about that happening. I think what you're going to have is you're going to have the haves and the have-nots. That's pretty much what you're going to have. You're going to have people with money and you're going to have the peasants. That's what's going to happen. I've already done an entire explanation. I did this probably last September. Why the middle class is disappearing. Any of you didn't hear that, please look it up on YouTube. The middle class is disappearing. That I will verify. There will be no middle class in America. So any of you who considers yourself middle class, you basically are going to have two choices. Either join the upper class or you will fall into the lower class. Lisa Hill said, I think the homeless will say yes to all this. Maybe, Lisa, maybe. Because from what I hear people talking about the homeless, is some homeless people don't want to take the housing being offered because they got to follow certain rules that they don't want to follow. And the same thing when it comes to the food. Let's see. IT said they've proven they can't spend the money appropriately. Well, effectively is the better word. And efficiently is another word. Sophie said education. Yeah, my question was, what part of education? What are you talking about? Indiana said the government will get richer while the average person gets poorer. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Marky says the border crisis. What about it? Right now, there's no crisis at the border. Right now, it's pretty quiet. The border's pretty quiet right now. I wonder why. Lisa said, yes, they were personally broke and now they are rich. Who are you talking about? Christopher said they have never solved it. They've always messed it up. Look at Social Security. Brooke said, aren't we including them? No, we're not. Because I shared that distinction. Jay Nito said, it's going back to the rich and tax deductibles. Bourbon said, his employees make six figures. Elon pays well. Well, paying well is relative. Depends on where you live and how much. Six figures anywhere from $100,000 to $999,000. So how much are we talking? And depending on where you live, six figures at $100K is not enough. Elon's company was based in Silicon Valley. All right, you go live in Silicon Valley on a $100,000 salary. Let me know how that goes. I think he moved to Austin, Texas recently, though. At least his main headquarters. Majestic said, the thing the government cares about is taking money from you. Well, yeah, they do that automatically. Christopher said, yes, I own my business, pay my taxes quarterly. All right, cool. Kathleen, thank you. Oh, Zach, thank you. Oh, that's when I sneezed. Majestic said, the system is a scam. Yes, a lot of the governmental systems in America are set up in scam-like ways. Specifically, the medical system. That's the one I dislike the most. The education system is a close second. Random said, American workers, he hires foreign workers. Well, then they become Americans. I get what you're saying. Chelsea said, W-2 income is the worst income. Start home business and write off your house. Again, not tax. That is not tax advice, folks, but I get what you're saying, Chelsea. Directionally, you are correct. Let's see. Lauren said, depends on what kind of business you have because my husband is 1099 and is not good for taxes. He's a 1099 recipient or he 1099s his staff. Which one are you saying here, Lauren? What side of the equation is he on? Is he receiving money 1099 or is he paying people 1099? I think you're talking about receiving. Random say he didn't invent the electric car. He bought into the company. Yes, I'm speaking metaphorically. I know he didn't invent it. But he bought into the company, and he's one of the reasons why the company is what it is, because he is a charismatic, influential person as the face of the company. It's Mariah. Thank you for the follow. Gemini said, wealth equals greed started with the whole equality socialist movement. Yes, it did. That is correct. Tristan said we need to change our mindset. Well, maybe. Depends on what it was before. Joy Allman, thank you for the follow. Gigi said, it's really no one's business what others make and how they use it doesn't affect you, me. Well, some people make it other people's business what they have because they want you to know that they have it, because that can bolster your reputation depending on how you use it. So there's a reason why you hear rappers telling you how much money they make, because there's a lot of people who buy into that and say, well, this person makes this much money. They must know what they're doing, which means I should listen to them, which means I should buy their album and go to their concerts. So it is a business model for some people, for you to know how much money they have. Now, other people, it's the exact opposite. They don't want anybody to know, but it depends on what business somebody's in. Carla, you said you're back. Congrats. Sherry said, turn on Shark Tank. Most start with close to nothing and scrape by to build. Yes, a lot of companies on Shark Tank the people on Shark Tank started their own business. That's the reason why they're on Shark Tank. Now, Shark Tank is that's a selective audience but a selective group of entrepreneurs that is in there from having started a business basically by themselves. Recon said, so should I take the second full-time job? Well, I don't know your situation, Recon. Maybe it'll make sense for you. However, I'm saying if the deal is you're trying to save money on taxes, if that's your primary driving factor, I'm not sure that it is. If it is, I would suggest you look into having a business on the side. You got 2 full-time jobs and a business on the side. But that business on the side gives you opportunities to write off things on taxes that you cannot do as an employee. Again, this is not tax advice. Please consult a tax attorney or a legal attorney or a tax professional before making any tax decisions. Gigi said, I know greedy people on all tax brackets. The wealth is not the common denominator in that. I agree. Corey said, hard disagree. Okay. What's your counterpoint? You didn't give the counterpoint. Let's keep the likes up, folks. We're at 88,000. We're doing good today. Jen Nurse said, we need that record. Always recorded. Trust me, everything's recorded over here. Gemini said, I always go inward if I'm triggered. I think like that I'm the only one. Many aren't involved. True. Jen said, I'm going to tell all my trainees to watch it on repeat. Well, great. We got a lot of stuff that they can watch on repeat, Jen. Jen Nurse. We got a whole bunch. Jen X Nurse. We got a lot of stuff. Sherry said maybe 4 or 5 people. Okay. Bruce said, excellent discussion today. Truly on point. Nicely done. Thank you, Bruce. Stephanie said he is one of the oligarchs. You're talking about Bernie? I hear a lot of people saying that about Bernie. I don't know if he's one of the oligarchs. I mean, again, Bernie got to play the game. That's what you got to do. You got to play the game. Chelsea said, you should speak in prison. You could change a lot of people's lives and mindset. I've actually spoken at a correctional facility once. These are younger guys. This was like the juvenile wing of the detention center. I knew a guy who was into doing things like that. That's the only time I did it, though. Gemini said, people don't like taking accountability. No, because accountability requires effort. Charlie Castro, yes, that's me. Good morning. Gemini said, reliance on the government equals more control over our lives. Yes, this is one of the issues I had with Kamala's campaign, is that she was offering a lot of stuff that would come from the government, which means we got to hand over power to the government. She didn't say that, but it was couched within a lot of things that she was claiming it was going to happen. Carlos said, can someone please explain what the heck is a living wage? Well, a living wage is basically, simple terms, a minimum amount of money that someone needs to be earning in order to live, to survive. Now, living wage can be different amounts. So a living wage in Miami is not the same as a living wage in, let's say, Oklahoma. Tulsa, Oklahoma is different because the cost of living is higher in different places. So what a lot of employees are saying, and just people in general, is that businesses should pay enough that whoever works for them should be able to live wherever the job exists. That's the living wage. I am not a fan of this concept simply on the principle that your job is not responsible for paying you enough money to live how you want to live. You are responsible for earning enough money to live how you want to live. Therefore, if your job is not paying you enough to live how you want to live, you are working at the wrong job, or you don't have the right marketable skills. But either way, it's something that you need to change, not something that the job needs to change. So that's why I'm against the concept of the living wage in principle, because the living wage principle, the principles of the living wage are all about what the employer needs to do for you. My principles are about what you need to do for you. That's the baseline of where I come from. It's not about what somebody else has to do for you. Christopher said, I agree. When you say yes, you agree to the money offer. Yes, exactly. Everybody knows that. I mean, everyone who has a job or has ever had a job knows you agree to the money. Everybody knows that. It's not news to anyone. It's that people don't want to take the accountability and responsibility for it. HM said, this isn't correct. Charities always broadcast that people give. Charities broadcast when the people who give want to be broadcasted. HM, if I give money to a charity and say, don't tell anybody that I gave this money, they won't tell anybody. They can't go against my will and broadcast that I gave money if I don't want them to do it. Irma, thank you for the gifter badge. Irma's the most consistent gifter here. So whenever I look at the replays, she's almost always the number one gifter. Thank you, Irma. Let's see what we got. A few more comments here. Ronnie says, so because you don't have a plan, dun, dun, dun. You know what's coming, folks. So Ronnie's comment started with the word so y'all know what that means. If y'all been listening enough, y'all should be learning. Y'all should be starting to pick up on the patterns here. Someone starts a comment with so, that means the straw man is on the way. But let's verify. Sometimes it's not. Every once in a while, 10% of the time is not a straw man, but 90% of the time it is. Ronnie says, so because you don't have a plan, the rich shouldn't pay adequate taxes. That's insane. All right. So Ronnie, you verified that's a straw man. So Ronnie's straw man is, by the way, is a common logical fallacy when someone takes something that you said or that they think you said or that they think you represent, then they reframe it into something that you did not say. Then they present it to you as if they're repeating your words back to you. And then they present it either in the form of a statement of incredulity or a form of ridicule, or they phrase it back to you as a question. Like they're asking you a question allegedly about what you said when it's not what you actually said. This is a common thing people use to try to manipulate in conversations. Most people don't know that they're doing it. Ronnie, I don't think you're trying to manipulate. I think you just use use the straw man without even knowing that you're doing it. So hopefully this is educational to you. He said, because you don't have a plan, the rich shouldn't pay adequate taxes. Did I say that? No, I didn't. So you're posing this as if you're rephrasing what I said, as if you're restating my words. Here's the problem with restating my words, Ronnie, and everybody else in here, is that I'm pretty good at putting my thoughts into words. I've been doing this for a long time. I have the proverbial 10,000 hours of practice articulating my thoughts. I probably got 20 or 30,000 hours, honestly. So Ronnie, as soon as you try to restate my words back to me, you already made it worse because I'm better at it than you. So that's why this is a straw man. That's not what I said. And you said that's insane. So this is the incredulity that usually comes with a straw man. Usually when someone says a straw man, there's either some form of sarcasm, ridicule, or incredulity to go with it. So any of you want to get better at pointing out the straw man, just notice what I just gave you, this frame, and you'll start noticing people doing it all the time. And some of you, to be honest, some of you need to catch yourselves doing it because y'all probably do it too. Usually incredulity, ridicule, or sarcasm combined with the so, tell, or basically tell, or just making whatever you said sound ridiculous in their own words. So thank you, Ronnie, for giving me the frame for that educational lesson here today. Sue Smith said, trickle down has never worked. This is true. It has never worked. Mr. Ohio said, straw man comment was fast today. Yeah, it was. Ronnie said, saying being a passive aggressive is for women and children is a passive aggressive thing to say. Let me think about that. Saying being passive aggressive is for women and children is a passive aggressive thing to say. No, Ronnie, I would reject that. I would say no, it's not. Being passive aggressive for women and children is a direct thing to say. And usually when I say it, I'm saying it to someone who I assume is a man. So I don't know who most of you are. Some of you I can see your pictures and it looks like is an actual person. Like Ronnie, I can't see what your avatar is. Doesn't look like it's a person. But I'm judging by your name that you're a male. And the fact that you are even responding to that tells me that you're probably male. And it is. Passive aggression is for women and children. I expect a man to be direct. I like directness. I like direct aggression. I don't like passive aggression. Direct aggression from a man, that is, not from a woman. If a woman's direct aggressive, that's not my cup of tea. But I expect men to be direct aggressive. And direct aggressive doesn't mean you need to be a jerk. It just means say what you actually want to say. Don't talk around your point. Say what you actually want to say and say it directly. So when I say passive aggression is for women and children, that's exactly what I mean. Now, you may not agree with me, but it's not passive aggressive. It's actually very direct, which is why, I don't know, it seems to have gotten your attention. Gemini said, what about the upper middle class? What is considered upper class? It depends on who you ask. It also depends on the income level, of course, the income level, but also how far your dollar can go where you live. So upper class may be one thing in Nashville, but it's another thing in San Antonio, it's another thing in Minneapolis. So it really depends on who you ask. Upper class is it's a subjective term. But if we talk about percentages, now you can get more hard with the numbers. Well, Heck said, pretty sure I'll be falling into lower class. Well, you don't have to let yourself fall. JC said, reparations for slavery. Good luck. Good luck. Katie, Texas conservative, said, is in Austin, the building looks a mile long. It's crazy. You talking about Tesla? I'm sure. They were probably already building it before he announced that they were leaving California. But he made it seem like they were leaving just because they didn't like California. Gigi said, I meant that for people being nosy about how others respond, none of your business. Okay, I see what you're saying. Zach, thank you for the follow. Katie said, the highway, Pickle Highway right in front of Texas has the highest speed limit in the U.S., 85. Okay, I've never seen an 85 speed limit. I'm not sure I have. John, thank you for the follow. John Hannibal Smith, thanks for the follow. Man of Steel said, people used to be taught to live within their means. These days, those days seem to be gone. Well, marketers have gotten better at selling stuff. And credit card companies have gotten better at giving people credit. So I think people do still get taught that, but now there are more mechanisms to go against it with. I think that's one thing that's happened. D, thanks for the follow. Digital said, are you saying straw or strong? I'm saying straw, STRAW, like a straw man, like what was that? The Wizard of Oz? Is it the Wizard of Oz? Yeah. And what was that guy's name? The straw man, what was he called? The Scarecrow. Yeah, like the Scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz. The straw man, a man made out of straw. That's what the straw man means. It means you took somebody's point, then you made a straw man version of their point, basically a scarecrow version of their point, and then you beat up the scarecrow, and then you brag like you beat up the person when you actually only beat up the ghost. You only beat up the scarecrow. You didn't beat up the actual person. So you beat up a cheap version of my point rather than the actual version of my point. That's why it's called a straw man. Straw like a straw you drink from. But Heck said, as Trump said, if you don't like the tax loopholes from the rich, petition Congress to change them. And Donald Trump has to say that because Donald Trump's the president. But I'll tell you what Donald Trump should actually say. We got 100,000 likes. Thank you, everybody. Here's what Donald Trump should actually say if he wasn't president. Now, here's what I'll say since I'm not president. If you don't like the tax loopholes for the rich, you should scheme to become rich. That's what you should do. Ask yourself, how could I become rich? And then you can enjoy the loopholes. Now, see, most people don't want to hear that. When I say that, a lot of people get annoyed. Maybe not you all who are in here. Maybe some of you, but a lot of people get annoyed when I say something like, if you don't like the rules that the rich get to play by, then just become rich. Now you can play by the same rules. What's the problem? Do the same thing that they do. So Digital said Montana has 85. Also part of Oregon, just drove to Vegas from there. Okay. All right, so maybe in the western part of the country. So I'm a big city guy. In big cities, you don't see any 85s. You might get 45. Katie said people love raised baitings. All right. Appreciate you, Carla. Thank you. Yeah, Scarecrow. Digital Whisperer said, I love your perspective on all things. Well, thank you. Digital Whisperer, don't speak too soon. You haven't heard me talk about everything yet. I might say something you disagree with. Don't decide too soon. Eddie said, how can a civilian get 10,000 hours of practicing articulating their thoughts? By actually doing it. Eddie, one way is, you see what I'm doing right here? Do you not? Let's just say, we just did some simple calculations. I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. I usually go for an hour to 2 hours. So let's just say 1.5 hours. 1.5 hours times 5 days a week. So every week I'm getting 7.5 hours of practice doing this. And let's say there are 4 weeks in a month. Every month I'm getting 30 hours of practice. Then we know there are 12 months in a year. So that's 360 months, 360 hours of practice every year. I got on social media first in 2005. So that's 20 years. Let's multiply that by 20 years. There's 7,000 right there. That's just assuming this 1.5 hours. That's not counting the rest of the day when I'm also talking. I'm talking on Zoom. I'm talking on stages. I'm talking on live trainings. And I'm talking even when I'm not recording because a lot of things that I talk about to you all, I've talked about kind of to myself, either metaphorically or literally before I say them out loud to you all. So let's just multiply that. We take that same number, 7,200, and let's just multiply that by 2, assuming my practice time when I'm not talking to a live audience. That's 14,000 right there. And then let's take the times when I'm doing other types of performances. I usually spend about half my day talking one way or another. We multiply that by another 2. We had 28,000. No, this is very rough math, but this is 28,000 hours of practice right there. So that's how. Eddie, thanks for the question. Digital Whisperer, thanks for the gifts. Victoria said, I'm in Oregon. What part? I don't see 85 miles an hour. Oh, okay. Katie said, was her father in your life just out of curiosity? Yes. My parents are still married. They were just actually down here in South Florida what's the day? Yeah, just last week. They were just here. My parents have been together for 43 years. I think it's coming up on 43 years. My parents have been together. So answer to your question, yes. Digital said 85 is the highest, Highway 130 in Texas. Montana, Oregon was 80 per Google. Okay. 105,000 likes here, folks. Let's keep getting them up. Slit 282 said, what about the argument reparations? Stealing from people who didn't own and give to non-slaves. What about that argument? I mean, it's not the topic here today, Slit. I don't know what you want me to say about it. Eddie, I appreciate it. Matthew said, what are your top 5 states to live in? Me personally, Florida's number 1, 2, and 3. If I had to pick 2 others, I would say Tennessee looks pretty good, even though I can't deal with the cold. I don't like the cold. I can, but I don't want to. Tennessee's looking good, and Texas, I would say, next. I'd probably go Texas than Tennessee. Texas has more heat than Tennessee. I was looking at the weather in Texas. I know some people in Texas. I was looking at the weather in Dallas. It was looking beautiful, at least for now. See, Dallas, they still get winter down there. So the weather in Dallas, here's Dallas, Texas for the next 10 days. So this I could deal with. But see, this is the summertime. In the wintertime, Dallas gets to 40 degrees. No, I can't do the 40 degrees thing. So look at this. This is between 76 degrees and 95 and 96 degrees every day for the next 10 days. And only today they got a possibility of a thunderstorm. And down here in South Florida, we got even better weather. Here we got we don't even get that high in the temperatures, just the humidity. So we're between 79 and 92, but every day there's a possibility of rain. Good thing about the rain in South Florida is that we don't get whole days of rain. That doesn't happen. Only time it rains for whole days if we got a tropical storm. Even then, it's not the whole day. When it rains here, it'll rain for like 15 minutes, then it's over. So even if you see rain in the forecast, you shouldn't cancel your plans. So I say Florida, Texas, Tennessee. If I had to pick another state to live in, maybe Nevada. The cost as well. I don't like the dry air. I'm not a dry air fan, but just taking out the weather, I say Nevada, and I like Arizona. So actually, I'm considering the weather in all those states. I'm cheating. I'm considering the weather and everything. I come from the northeast part of the country. I come from Philadelphia. I don't want to live in the northeast. It's too cold. I don't like that. And even in the summertime, it takes forever. In Philadelphia, they didn't start getting 90-degree days till like June. I'm like, it's supposed to get hot in like April. It was April. It was still 40 degrees in Philadelphia. No. Anyway, a couple more comments, folks, then we'll wrap this up. I'm at 11% battery on this iPad, then we'll wrap this up. Christopher said, insurance premium is too high in Florida. That is true. Every state has a trade-off. There's no perfect place, everybody. Everywhere you go, there's something you got to give up. Florida, you got the humidity. Also, you have, let me just hold this up on a charger while I wrap this up. Florida, you have the humidity. You got the insurance is a thing. Insurance does cost more in Florida. You were just in Miami, South Beach. Shout out to South Beach. Miami is hot, too hot. Yeah, some people don't like the heat. If you don't like the heat, Miami's not the place. Katie said Arkansas is beautiful. Now, see, things about these other states that I haven't mentioned, especially the flyover states, Arkansas, these middle of the country states, is that the dollar can go very far. So any of you who lives in a coastal state and then you move to the middle of the country, you're going to feel like you're rich. You might not feel like you're rich living in Manhattan, but move to Arkansas, you'll be rich. Just as soon as you get there, you're rich. You get a lot more house. You can get a lot more land. Your dollar goes a lot further. Your insurance is lower. Everything costs less money. Only thing is you're just not in Manhattan anymore. So as long as you're all right with that. Selena Carter said, I lived in Arizona for 20 years. No black culture in Arizona. Okay, fair enough. If that matters to you, then you got to consider that. Who else lives there? Man of Steel says South Carolina is pretty nice. I haven't spent a ton of time in every state. I've been to damn near every state, but I haven't spent a lot of time in every state to tell you the lifestyle. Digital Whisperer said, I need to get out of Seattle area. I like Seattle. I've been there a couple times. It's a little bit too dreary. It's too cloudy in Seattle. I don't like the cloudiness. I like sun. So down here in South Florida, it's sunny damn near every day. That's the kind of way I like to live. You just said dollar matters a lot. Yes, it's one of the main reasons a lot of people move, especially when you have a family. You think about how far can my money go, where my kids going to go to school, who else is around, what kind of community am I living in. So some people think about that. Selena said Dallas is nice. Yeah, Dallas is nice compared to Miami. It's a lot cheaper too. Dallas can go a lot further. If you are used to living in a big city, and you're from a big city, you move anywhere else, your dollar goes like twice as long. Selena said I live in Tampa. I used to live in Tampa. Shout out to Tampa. Shout out to Carrollwood. I was in Carrollwood when I was there, and I used to go to this LA Fitness that's all the way up. I forget the name of that main street, but it wasn't actually in the city. It was further up. Digital said our governor in Seattle is beyond corrupt. I'm sure. Is that a Democrat or a Republican? Shawnee said Kansas City, Missouri. Okay. I haven't spent a lot of time there, but shout out to Kansas City. Shout out to the middle of the country. Morgan said best places in Florida for young families. It would not be the big cities. I would go like outside of the big city. So Palm Beach County. So there you get the Boca Raton, Deerfield Beach, those kind of places. It's a city, but it's not super big city. Nice communities, low crime, safe, clean. I like places like that. If it's all about family and good schools, good communities. Katie said our beaches are trash. Oh yeah, so you don't have a beach there. Gulf Shores, Alabama. I don't know nothing about Gulf Shores, Alabama, but shout out to Alabama. Shout out to Andy Andrews. He's in Alabama, somewhere down in the very south of the state. I forget the name of the place. Digital says Seattle is woke blue. Okay, that makes sense. Stewart, Florida. Okay, there's another one. Naples is another good one in Florida. Florida has a lot of good places. There's only you only got like really 3 big cities: Orlando, Tampa, Miami. Everything else is smaller towns. So anywhere in Florida, you probably have to drive around. I would drive around and take a look. I like Naples. I like Tampa Bay. I like Orlando. And I love the super South Florida. All of that is technically South, but super South Florida, which is Miami, Broward, Palm Beach. So that's Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Aventura, Miami, most other places. All the places in the city. You got Miami Beach. You got Key Biscayne is also nice. Now that's going to cost you. You want to go to Key Biscayne, it's going to cost you some money. So check what's in your piggy bank. You want to go there. It costs more, but very nice if money's not an issue. Matthew, yes, we talked about that when it first happened. The Metcalf, Carmelo. When it goes to trial, we'll talk about it again. But right now, it's not really anything happening. Christopher said, you ever heard of Ellaville, Georgia? No. The fact that you're asking, you probably know I haven't heard of it. Katarina said, Gulf Shores is next to Florida. Baldwin, Cali, Alabama. Okay. So all the way over there. It's like a whole different world from down here. Waxahachie, Florida. I've heard of that place. Couldn't point it out on the map, but I've heard of it. All right, so we're going to wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. We're at 13% battery. I'm holding it on the charger right now. We do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Usually my charger doesn't die. My battery doesn't die. I had the charger on something else overnight, which I shouldn't have done, but I won't make that mistake again. Do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So if you like this one, come back tomorrow. If you didn't like it, come back tomorrow. If you are unsure, if the jury is still out on me, come back tomorrow. I don't know what the topic's going to be tomorrow. It depends on what is happening. I see what's happening in the news or what looks interesting, or I just look at what I already have noted and we go with that. So we'll see what happens between today and tomorrow, and we'll be talking about that. You want to work with us directly, you want to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach, get into our coaching and consulting programs, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com or workonyourgame.com, or just click the link in my profile. The link's in my profile on every app whichever one y'all watching me on right now. This replay is on YouTube, by the way. Whether you're on X, Rumble, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, or TikTok, the links in my profile all will take you to places that will give you more information about working with me directly. Just go to that link. You can work with me directly and find out more about us and what we do. Everybody have a great Monday. I will see y'all tomorrow morning. Thank you for the likes. We got 110K likes here today. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Work on your game. Thank you to my moderators and my regulars and the new people. We are out of here.